Well, it's your sports show, and it's the Musketeer Coaches Show on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. The Musketeer season is here. It is coming up on Thursday and Friday. It is the annual Fall Classic taking place in, well, you call it Cranberry, but it's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for most people. It is coming up on Thursday and Friday for your Musketeers. These are 11:30 Central Time starts now, so a little morning, afternoon hockey, why not? The Musketeers, they take on Thursday, they take on the Chicago Steel, the Green Bay Gamblers on Friday. We'll have the coverage here on KMNS, iHeartRadio, Flow Hockey as well. So we're ready to go. Now we got to find out a little bit more about the team. We had a chance to see the guys media day last week, but now we have the head coach and Jason Kersner on, and he's got to see them in preseason play. Well, give me some generals first off, Coach. What did you like and didn't like about the preseason?
Well, preseason was, as you know, there's really kind of two main components to it. First one is the kind of final evaluations for your team building process. We showed up with, I want to say 32 players, and had to whittle our way down to 25. And as you and I discussed last week at Media Day, if you showed up on September 1st as one of those 32 guys, you were certainly good enough to be on the team and probably playing in the league. But so we had some real difficult decisions to make at all three positions, forward, D, and goalies. So that's obviously a really important component of training camp. And now, to your point, we've gotten through that, and we've gotten ourselves down to the 25-man roster that we'll start the season with. And then you're balancing that evaluation part with trying to build your team and the environment that you want to have. First and foremost, in just your daily training environment and how we're going to practice and get better throughout our process, and then starting to build your team identity and who we're going to be and how we're going to play once we get through the season. So that's what was going on through kind of 2 grinding weeks of training camp, filled with 2-a-days and workouts and conditioning and all those kind of things. But I thought it was a really good process. I thought first and foremost the players, the talent level was great. So kudos to both Troy Ward and Sharon Clark, who kind of put that all together. And then and I was happy with the progress we made in terms of kind of starting to build our personality as a group.
Well, I'll tell you what, personality starts with great goaltending, or any team, I should say. So you got 2 guys, Samuel Urban, who we got a chance to see in a number of games, or a few games, I should say, last year. And Jakub Kerbacek is the new goaltender that was drafted. What did you see? What makes these 2 guys good? And is it a challenge who's number 1, or is there number 1 and 1A? How are we looking?
Yeah, we're 1-1 so far. Definitely, like to your point, I think you can go back to the Lou Viro days where he said, if you want to know everything you need to know about coaching hockey, when you get off the bus, have the better goalie. And that's going to make you a good coach. And I think we have 2, as you mentioned, 2 really good options back there. Sam, as you mentioned, we saw last year a little bit, got to taste the league, and I think that is just so important for his own kind of growth and his confidence. He's still young as 2005, but he had a really good little stretch with us, and then he had a really good off season and Worlds playing for his country. Obviously, he committed to Arizona State, so his stock continues to rise, and he had a really good training camp. And then Jakub, new to us, but older. He's a 20-year-old, and he played in the North American Hockey League last year. So he's got, although not USHL experience, he has, good junior hockey experience, and he also had a really good camp. So they both played. They split our first weekend in Omaha, and then they both played a full game. Jakub against Sioux Falls and Samuel against Lincoln. So they've both gotten, a good taste of the league and got their feet under them. And, I'm sure we'll see them both play in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering who goes and who doesn't. We'll find out that on Thursday. But one thing I did notice, especially in your last 2 games, you guys didn't give up a lot of shots. That means possession hockey, too.
Yeah, as you know, that's for us, our personality, our identity, the style that we're trying to play. And I do think that as the preseason wore on, we were kind of getting closer there. Let's be honest. We've had, maybe it's been 11 practices and some games, and so it's not a finished product. We've certainly got a long way to go to continue to build to who we want to be and our style of play. But I thought we took great strides inside that, and possession hockey, playing on half ice. We want to, we either want to possess and be playing offense, or we want to play our defense in the offensive zone as far away from our net as possible. On our toes, aggressive. If we can't, forecheck and create turnovers in the offensive zone, we want to shut it down in the neutral zone as quickly as we can. So I thought that we took great strides in that, and we were starting to kind of come together and look more connected as a group in our final 2 preseason games. But we'll take the positives out of it, but we'll be honest too and say, there's a lot of the tape that we need to continue to clean up and just keep growing.
Yeah, and that's always the case right now. A lot of times, I don't know if I even recommend it to not look at film at Christmas time. Don't look back at film on the Fall Classic, right?
Yeah. They'll be, listen, and we won't be the only team like that, right? So it's just, the turnover in the league. Like, we're fortunate that we have a decent number of returners, so I do think that helps speed us up a little bit in this process. But there's still a lot of new guys. We have a totally new coaching staff, right? So we're all, trying to get on the same page and get aligned and, get it to where we want. But again, that's not unique to Sioux City, right? That's the nature of this league, and that's what makes this league great. Is these guys come in, and I don't care if you look at our 2 assistant coaches or the players were able to use last year as that opportunity to be the stepping stone to what's next for them. So I think you're always kind of starting over every year, no different than a school teacher, right? Just because you ended last year and your class was in good shape, you're going to start back with lesson plan number 1 when the season begins.
Well, it's one thing about it when you have returning players and in returning really good players as we look at maybe D's to start, Hansen, Morquay, Longacre, Hupka, Loftus, Fitzgerald, they're going to be better than you last saw them too. Maybe tell me about Cole Tumanero, a big guy, huh?
Yeah, he'll be the youngest player on our team this year, 2007 birth year. He was drafted just this year in the Phase 1 draft. And I think maybe second round, I want to say maybe. Mm-hmm. You would probably know better. But so an early round Phase 1 pick for us. And again, he to your point, he's a big kid. He's an intelligent kid, and he's just got a great presence about himself. So he has a physical element to his game, and found himself in a physical altercation even in preseason in Sioux Falls, which is kind of impressive for a young player, that he's confident in himself to be able to kind of hold his own in those scenarios. And but a good player with a ton of upside. Obviously, we saw it last year. Cole Longacre was a 2006 defenseman. I think he was one of you can count on one hand how many last year 2006 and now Cole Tumanero. There will be very few 2007 defensemen in this league this year. So I think it speaks volumes to him and where he's out in his development. The fact that we even feel like he's capable of doing that, I think, is the most important thing. But there will just be the learning curve, right? Like that's just the reality of how hard it is to be a young defenseman in this league. So we're confident in him. That's why he's on the team. We know he can play, and he's here. But we'll balance that as well, just with his development. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player for us this year. And our hope would be he can now come back and still be a really young player in the league next year, still as a 17-year-old, but ready to kind of take that next step. And to your point, that's what we see with our defensive core and all those names that you said just a moment ago. They're coming back, have all played in the league. We count on those guys to be even better this year.
No, absolutely. It's interesting because they played well last year. You know what I mean? I mean, you look at like Finn Loftus, who came around so much. Hupka, who just hey, by the way, come away from Minnetonka, and he just fit in perfectly. Longacre all year. Kevin Fitzgerald from the start, he was getting a lot of play time and just continued. But then Ty Hansen and Morquay, I mean, that's pretty darn even. putting your lines out there defensively, Coach, you're going to not be too scared.
No, I mean, like you said, so those guys all played, and they played, as you mentioned, a lot of minutes. And I thought last year the thing that was, of all the things you can say that I think will help them from the both experience and confidence standpoint, is the Western Conference was so good, and there were so many really good forwards. You think back to last year, the top line that Fargo had, the top probably two lines that Waterloo had. Lincoln had an unbelievable first line. Even Sioux Falls with Sammy Harris and that's right. Like there were some really, really high end players up front in the Western Conference, and the fact that those names you mentioned, Hans and Finn and Fitzy, and these guys were playing 20 to 25 minutes a night last year against some high end talent, right? So not that there won't be great players this year, but the fact that they were logging minutes against those guys, what does that do for these guys' confidence in their ability coming back this year to now, being able to log those minutes for us? I think it's huge.
We're talking Musketeer hockey. On the line is Jason Kersner. He's the head coach for the Sioux City Musketeers, gearing up for Game 1 Thursday. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. It is your sports show, the Musketeer Coaches Show on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Musketeer Coaches Show is right here on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Musketeer hockey coming up Thursday, 11:30. Friday, 11:30. This is Central Time, by the way. We'll have the coverage here on KMNS, iHeartRadio, and Flow Hockey. Talking with Jason Kersner. He's the head coach for the Sioux City Musketeers, as we're trying to roll through the lineup a little bit, get a little look at some of these guys. And, I ran down a lot of the D-core, but you got a couple other. You're going to go with 9, at least for now. Sam Court and Joseph Mentz, these are two new names as well.
Yep, and Joe Mentz, a young player from out east. He's a 2006 birth year, but another big kid, and had a really good training camp, and he'll remain with us. So he was a Phase 2 draft pick this year, and then Sam Court, another slightly older player, so 2004, also a Phase 2 draft pick, but comes over with junior hockey experience. So another Arizona State commit, and he played last year his junior hockey in Canada. So has that experience, and he's certainly a more offensive defenseman, somebody that's had a lot of success putting up numbers in junior hockey, and two more, they're both right-handed players, but two more really good additions to the D-core of the names that you mentioned, guys that were all here last year.
We're kind of going through the lineup a little bit since you had a chance. Obviously, you see them in practice. You guys had a ton of practice, and then 4 actual preseason games as they get ready. But I guess directions to go. Okay, so Max Strand, Dylan Godbout, and we'll concentrate on those guys probably more and more just because we know them. They're returners. Shahan and Nicholas and those guys, and Kessler and Bruick, those guys. How about a veteran that came over in a trade, Jonah Agerter? Tell me a little bit about what you've seen out of him coming from Madison.
Yeah, came over in Madison. So again, it's just another. We had a decent amount of returners up front, but certainly not as many as the D. Right, we kind of returned the entire T core.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really nice pickup for us. Just another player that played a full year in the league and had a very good season for Madison last year. So nice to get that experience in our lineup, and had a very good camp. This is first and foremost that can really, really skate. So brings a lot of pace and energy to our lineup, and a versatile.
Yeah,
he penalty killed. He played some power play. So again, just a really good skater that can contribute offensively. But I think because of his speed is probably his best weapon, can make an impact without the puck on the game as much as he can with the puck. So a good pickup, and we're excited to get him over.
Let's talk about some high-end picks from this last time. I'll start with the two guys that came from the same school that play together, as maybe Hagen Burrows and Gavin Gary. Got to meet those guys, and I'm seeing points already. Yeah,
I mean, two guys, as I mentioned, from that becomes our our third and fourth players from Minnetonka. So quite the connection there, as you already mentioned, Liam Hopka. So, but yeah, Gavin and Hagen also, and obviously we know what a magical season they had, playing high school hockey, and but two really good and talented offensive players, and both of them had very productive preseasons. So, we're excited about them being a part of our forward group.
Ethan Gardula. Now we got to see him. I thought maybe like 9 games last year. So it's one of those. He got a good taste and he made a dent.
Yeah, I think it was 9 games, and I want to say maybe like 5 points or something. So when he came out last year, pretty good production. We know like those are sometimes not easy, right? It doesn't matter if it comes from Minnesota high school or he happens to come from Eastern Prep, but to just kind of get dropped into the mix like that, especially that time of year, right? They came at the end when it's probably post trade deadline and people have kind of loaded up and are jockeying for playoff position, and the ice just gets a little bit tighter and some of that stuff. So it was really good, and so it just you might talk during that media day whether that was him or even like Hansen and Godbout in the year before when they just kind of came as black aces to be around the championship team, and same for Urban doing that last year. Just even though it's not a full season, just so that taste just to get a sense of how we practice and what the guys do and what it's like to go play on the road and in hostile environments and all of those things. I do think it really helps the learning curve, and I thought it showed through preseason for Ethan. It technically it really is his rookie season, but I think even for him it feels maybe a little bit different just having spent that time around the team last year.
You got a guy named Jordan Ron, and it's kind of funny. Maybe a lot of people think he's good. You guys drafted him up, and now Mankato wants him after you're done with him.
Yeah, that's two I think that we had in training camp, and we actually just acquired a third as well. So I don't know. We get as you know already. There's quite the connection with staff members over there and the Musketeers, and now we want to continue that pipeline with the players as well.
Yeah, no, it's style and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, so let me keep running them a little bit. Giacomo Martino. I got to tell you, I really like his name. First off.
Yeah. No, good name and really nice kid. So another guy, he's a Canadian player, but he played junior hockey in Canada last year. So obviously it's a totally different experience, but I do think any let's just call it Tier 2 or B level hockey, whether that be in Canada or the North American League, NCDC, where I came from, any of those, I think it does help a little bit versus your maybe prep school or high school, just because you're playing against older kids instead of your peers, right? So, Giacomo was playing against just older competition, and where he will certainly have an adjustment from that league to our league. I do, think it is valuable that he had the opportunity to play against older kids and learn a little bit more how he has to kind of fight for his space in his ice. And talented young player, and he's coming to Northeastern University, and excited to have him in the fold as well.
Talk about Evan Brown now. I got this right. He's an 03 though, right? So he's a little older.
He's a little older, and I won't be with us.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So I keep kind of moving down, and I know you have to have a certain number, and that's the tough part of the job.
Yeah, so we did, obviously, as you know, as we said, we had 32.
Have to.
Had to get down, and again, it's a couple of them were involved in trades, and that gets down. The others, unfortunately, you just have to straight let go, and they go back to different leagues and whatnot, and had a good camp and had some points, but he'll head back to Canada. And we're not the only one on the list of guys that will, kind of head back to where they came from. But again, I thought, hey, not that it's worth any points, but I think the team went 3-0-1 in preseason. My point being that those guys that won't be with us played well and proved that they're good enough to be in the league, right?
Yeah.
But you just have to get down.
Go. Let's finish off then. Van Tassel and Jacobs.
Yep. So those will be, kind of along the lines of, Tuvenera and Benz. These are now younger forwards that were picks just this year that will be with us. Easton Jacobs just committed to UMass Lowell out east, 06 forward, and then Van Tassel also is an 06 forward. So two guys that are, again, you talk about training camp preseason for those guys coming out of midget hockey, just really valuable kind of, experience for them, and because there's quite the learning curve for those young guys. So, but two guys that handle themselves really well and will be with us.
Now, last on my list at least, and I might be missing someone. I'm still trying to figure out the team a little bit, but you did make a acquisition of Tate Pritchard. Talk about him. Obviously, you haven't seen him play, but obviously they found something in him. Is he a forward? Where is he at?
Yeah, he's a right shot forward. Played Minnesota High School last year. Comes over to us via trade from Waterloo, and is the other Minnesota State commit now.
Oh.
So I the reports again were really good, and obviously Sean made the move now, but views by a lot of our scouts and guys that know him quite well, and obviously gets a good kind of supportive recommendation from MSU as well. So just getting to town now and joining us, and excited to get to know him better, obviously, and get him in the mix.
Well, perfect. Let's take one more break, and we'll kind of wrap things up. The Musketeer Coaches Show games Thursday and Friday. We'll have the coverage, of course, on Fox Sports Radio 620, KMNS, iHeartRadio, and Flow Hockey. Musketeer Coaches Show is right here on Fox Sports Radio 620, KMNS. And once again, talking with Jason Kersner, head coach of the Sioux City Musketeers, as we get set for the start of the 2023-24 USHL season. Starts Thursday and Friday. Pittsburgh, it's the Fall Classic. Thursday against Chicago. Friday against Green Bay. Both are 11:30 Central Time. We'll have the coverage on KMNS, iHeartRadio, and Flow Hockey. Again, talking with Coach Kersner and about this team. Little things now coming up. How much have you had a chance to work on your systems with guys? Is it easier when you have returners? And then, like special teams, have you had a chance to really put that in?
Yeah, so, we start with 5-on-5, and, obviously just more of the game time, at least you hope, is spent.
You hope so, right?
Yeah, exactly, than on the special. So we started there. Listen, there's no doubt that having the number of returners that we have speeds up the process. I do, if you ask me, how we feel now about it compared to, 12 months ago at this time, I would say that we feel like we're closer and more connected as a group as it relates to, kind of our on-ice structure and team play. So that helps. But, there's still work to be done. It's definitely not a finished product. So, but having returners has definitely, having those guys be able to model it, I think it helps the new guys, speed up that process. So there's that. And special teams we did, we've got it installed. We've got it kind of going a little bit, but it just takes more time. And it's two parts. It's one, not just the plan and what we want are trying to accomplish. It's just also personnel, right? So it's now that we've gotten to where we've gotten to with our roster numbers, right? Now we've gotten the people on the bus, and now it's about getting the people into the right seats. And I just don't think that you have a great idea. Like we will try some different people, whether it both be power play or penalty kill, and so A, try different people, B, try some people in some different spots, right? Maybe it's a little bit better, on the goal line or the net front, or the man in the middle, right? So it takes a little bit of time to get there. And then once we, so we'll be kind of doing both things, trying to get the plan organized and what we want to do, but also shuffling the people around So I do think that part always takes a little bit longer. And last year, both power play and penalty kill, we got to a slow start. But we did have
you've hit
typically in both of those areas last year. So I'd like it to not struggle as much as it did maybe the first 10. But certainly looking to kind of finish as high as we did in both those categories.
Absolutely. When do you start looking? Can you look, and what do you look at in Chicago, or just look at their tendencies from last year?
Yeah, it's a little bit. Obviously, it's just tough. So you can get a little bit of video from preseason of your opponents, but it's the same thing, right? You don't necessarily. Not everybody is playing, right? You're trying to still evaluate. So you have that. You do have, two similar coaching. At least head coaches are the same in those two areas. So maybe last year's stuff gives you a little bit of an indication of this year. So we'll poke in on that stuff. I will say, we know we're playing two really strong opponents, right? Chicago's kind of perennially one of the best teams in the USHL, and all the early season reports out of Green Bay is that they might be the team to beat this year. So we know that we have two really difficult opponents, but it'll be less about kind of the advanced scouting and more really about us. I just think, again, in any sport, the team that wins, that the game just unfolds in a manner that they desire, just kind of towards their personality. So Green Bay will have their structure, their plan, their personality. Chicago will have theirs, and we'll have ours. And if we can be the team that's forcing them to adjust and the game unfolds in a manner that we want it to, I think we have a chance to have success. If we find ourselves, on our heels and adjusting and trying to play a game that those guys want to, it's going to be difficult. So we spent training camp. Again, I said Mike Tomlin always says physical conditioning precedes all else. So we certainly wanted to get ourselves into a place where we feel like we're physically ready to be competitive against two really good teams. But it's going to be more about our identity. We're going to keep it about us and try to get these games to unfold in the way that we want.
Yeah, looking at those guys, at least Chicago's identity, if you start playing that doesn't work. So,
no.
Yeah, I mean, you play your way, and it's right on the money. Talk about the trip, Coach. When we're playing this on KMNS on a Tuesday, they've already hit the road and heading to Columbus. So it's kind of give us the itinerary a little.
Yeah, bus leaves Monday, through the night, and then we'll arrive in Columbus. We'll be in Columbus Tuesday and Wednesday, so opportunity to get two practices at the Ohio. I think you have to say the. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you're a Big Ten guy. Come on, you should know.
Yeah, I don't like to. It's Ohio State. That's why I don't like to focus on those things.
Yeah, exactly. So two practices there, and so just kind of break the trip up and get some practices in. Good opportunity for us, our guys, to see a Big Ten campus and get a little kind of peek under the hood. And as we mentioned, we got quite a few Musketeer alumni that are currently there. To Dylan Godbout, with a similar logo, so it'll be good to kind of connect with all of those guys while we're in town practicing and finishing up preparations for the trip. And then when we finish practice on Wednesday, we'll buzz over to Pitt and get into town Wednesday night for a team dinner, and then be ready to play Thursday, Friday.
Yep, there you go. Thursday, Friday, then we'll get back at it, and the full season is ahead of us. It's packed with scouts. It's packed with scouts from NCAA, from the NHL. Do you ever worry about these guys trying to do too much, knowing that the eyes are there watching them?
Meat market, right?
That's exactly it.
To describe it. It really is a zoo down there. It's a special event, though. To your point, what is it now? 62 Division I teams, and they all have 2 or 3 coaches there, and every NHL team with multiple members of their scouting staff and management are there. So it is a special opportunity, I think, for our guys to do that. As you know, everybody's out all year, the NHL teams and the colleges, but getting them all under one roof at the same time is just kudos to the league and the NHL and everybody that puts this on, because it's a special event. But yeah, there's no doubt. It takes a lot of discipline, and the players to remain focused on putting the team first and doing things the right way versus trying to make a name for themselves. But I think in the end, the guys that do that are the ones that are doing a greater service to themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the education process for young players is helping them to understand that. And the most scouted teams are the teams that win, right? So and the most scouted players are the ones that are willing to impact the game for the team and not just about themselves. So I think we got a really good group of guys that understand that. So I don't think we'll have anybody deviating and playing the game the wrong way.
Well, perfect, Coach. I won't keep any longer. Safe travels, and I will see you in Pittsburgh.
Looking forward to it, Curtis. Thank you.
Yeah, Jason Kersner, head coach of the Sioux City Musketeers, the Musketeer Coaches Show, every Tuesday during the 5 o'clock hour on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS.